Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Baby Boomer Investing Show. This is season 2, episode 17, and we've got a really great thing on senior fraud today. And Ron is going to introduce our guest, Pat O'Donnell.
Right. Thanks, Kath. Good morning. So here in Southern California, it's not senior fraud, it's senior fraud.
Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So, Pat, I introduced myself to you last month. You wrote an article called, I want to make sure I get it right, Scams, Cons, and Fraud. And I thought it was a great article, and we needed to have a show about fraud. So I really appreciate your coming on. And you've been doing mostly, I think, nonprofit work and also in the television area.
Right. Well,
TV shows.
Yeah, the last part of my career was in the nonprofit world, raising money for a domestic violence shelter for women and children.
Great.
And did that before I retired. But I started my career in the radio and television news business. Was in news and reporter, photographer, worked up to news director in several cities around the country. And when you're in that job, you're kind of like a ball club manager. Every 2 years, you're moving. And when our children reached middle school, the wife and I decided no more moving, and I left that business. But the journalism and news bug bit me again when I started thinking about fraud and all the scam calls that Linda and I get every day.
Sure.
It's just ridiculous. And
well, you must have money.
No.
Well, then they shouldn't bother you.
Yeah, you would think, but the scams and the frauds are just unbelievable.
Yes.
And they target seniors. And so I got interested and decided to write the blog. And I'm still digging into it. So
great.
I appreciate being able to spread the word.
Thanks for joining us. And I think you're going to share a lot of important information. Before we open it up for you, just want to share with the audience that we had planned on having a friend, John Lohr, on the show, and the logistics part. So, but we're going to talk about some of the work John has done as well. And John is he's been an attorney for 38 years, corporate counsel for E.F. Hutton and Lockwood and others. But 4 years ago, John decided to take on financial literacy. And he has a website that we're going to share with you that has a lot of stuff about fraud. So we'll still appreciate John's presence. But let's start with you, Pat, and all your great information from the FBI.
Yeah, I was really pleased as I was talking to local police here in suburban Kansas City, getting some local information. A friend of mine who's an agent for the Food and Drug Administration suggested that I contact the FBI Public Affairs Officer, which I did here in Kansas City, and they were just most helpful. They gave me access to a report. Well, anybody can get it because we paid for it as taxpayers.
Sure.
But the Internet Crime Compliance Center, or Complaint Center, I'm sorry, short for IC3 is the nickname there. They did an annual report that came out just recently, and she sent it to me, and it's got some real interesting information. So I wrote the article around that, and then included some of my own personal experiences. So, Kathy, if we could go to that first slide.
There you go.
There we go. Share a little bit here. I know it might be a little hard to see, but to illustrate the magnitude of the problem, it took nearly 7 years for the FBI's Crime Complaint Center, IC3, to reach 1 million complaints. So 7 years in existence before they reached 1 million. And then by March of 2020, they had logged 5 million complaints.
Wow.
Yeah. And then on May 15th, just last May 15th, the center received its 6 millionth complaint. So you can see just in 15 months, another million pops in there. It's
incredible.
It is. Kathy, if we can change. The IC3 Center gets some 2,000 complaints a day.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable. And they account for $4.2 billion in losses in just 2020. So you can see the magnitude of the problem there.
Yeah. A lot of people are affected.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of money.
And it's growing.
So maybe, Pat, you and I should figure out a way to get some of that 4.2 billion.
Boy, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
No, I'm kidding.
Kathy, let's go to the next slide from the IC3. This one indicates, it shows the problem in a different view. The complaints and losses have grown 70% between 2019 and 2020. How would you like to have your investments grow 70%?
Yeah.
In 1 year? It's just unbelievable. And they say it's going to continue. Okay, here are the top types of crime complaints in the last 5 years. And the biggest one, biggest three are phishing scams, non-payment or non-delivery scams, and extortion. I want to talk a little bit about every one of those three categories. Some new lingo here for you both and the viewers. I didn't know this. I'd heard of phishing before, but not vishing, smishing, or farming.
Vishing, smishing.
Yeah.
And farming. They're all basically the same thing.
Computer-based, right? Yeah.
Law enforcement has tagged these new names on there. And basically, they're all just unsolicited emails or text messages, telephone calls that are purportedly from a legitimate company or person requesting your personal financial and or login and credentials. So they're really trying to scam you there. Something new I realized in doing some research, I noticed on some of the social media, they ask, what are your favorite pets' names? Or what cities were you born in? Or where did you meet your spouse? And those are all key things you should not volunteer. Because
really?
A lot of
I do
people,
that all the time.
Well, a lot of people put their pet's name as their password. Or
some of the websites have these security questions too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like those questions. Yeah.
So you want to be careful there. And I used to do it too, Kathy, but I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. Well, those emails come across too. They normally format them where, Microsoft or some firm that you trust seems to be the sender, but they're not. They just sort of.
Yeah, and what we have to do as consumers, we have to be very aware that a lot of these organizations, like you get emails from Amazon and it'll say that your account has been compromised, and Amazon never sends out emails about anything to do with your account. They will call you beforehand.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Another thing to remember is the government scams where they say we're from the IRS. The IRS and other government agencies are not going to call you and demand payments of cash, gift cards, or other payments. And so many people fall for that. It's just...
Yeah, I got a call that continuous. I hate right now because it says your Social Security is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real serious. It's imperative that you call us immediately, or what? Yeah. But the question is, what happens when you do call them, John? Do you know that? Do you know what happens? Pat, why do I keep calling you John? I'm sorry, Pat.
It's our lost guest.
Yeah, in Grandma. With me. Do you have any idea what happens if you do call them?
No, I've never called them. I've been tempted, but I've never called them because my phone number is on too many lists right now anyway. So
Yeah, well, don't.
I don't want to
It's a good thing you haven't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, Pat? I got your number.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, these phishing things too typically have you click on something,
Right.
and that clicking opens up whatever bad stuff they're going to do to you.
And that could be a phone call, or in our case, a year ago, my wife was at her computer and she got a pop-up that said, your computer needs work. It's got serious problems. Click on this. And I was downstairs in my office and I came upstairs and she had clicked on it and was in a conversation with some person in a foreign country. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, well, he's helping me fix my computer. It's got a bug. And I said, get off of there right now.
Yeah.
And they had downloaded some stuff onto her computer, and in hopes that they could start uploading all her computer to get her bank passwords. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And luckily we got it stopped in time, but it cost us $300 to get it cleaned off her computer.
Yeah.
So
once they get access to your computer, what a lot of people don't know, folks, is that if that ever happens to you, and like Pat did, he hired somebody, if you just think that you hang up from them, not true. Right. Behind the scenes, they still have access to your computer, and ways that you can notice that is you can be trying to do something and all of a sudden you can't do it. You get locked up, and then the next minute later you get locked up again. Somewhere, somehow, somebody's running something in the back end of your computer.
Yeah.
So if you've got your passwords and all that, they're going to get access to it. Your bank records, anything like that, they'll get access to.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I know this? Because it happened to my friend.
Yeah. It's bad.
Couple of the other two categories in the top three here are the non-payment, non-delivery. That's where in the non-payment situation, goods or services that say you sold something over the internet to somebody, you ship it, but you never get payment for it. That's a big one. And in the non-delivery situations, you send payment for something that you're buying, but the goods and services are never received, or you receive something that's a knockoff, or something from a different country that it's just not what you thought you were ordering. And then the other last one of the top three is the extortion. The FBI describes that as unlawful execution or extraction of money or property through intimidation, undue exercise of authority. It may include threats or physical harm, criminal prosecution, or public exposure. So those extortion scams and cons are the last of the top three.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the
physical threat. That sounds pretty serious.
Yeah.
Was it that if you don't pay us, we're going to knock on your door? Is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scary.
You know, the FBI says the latest numbers and trends of 2021 indicate that this is going to be a record year.
Wow.
So this program is timely. I mean, it's
with COVID and everything else, I imagine, people who are desperate are doing what they have to do to, pay the bills.
Well, if you think about it for a second here, think about the scams that could occur because people have been granted immunity on paying their mortgages, their rent, things like that. All of a sudden you get a scam that says, you have not paid your mortgage for the last so-and-so, and if you're penalized so-and-so, and you have to submit this amount in order for this to continue. I could see a scam like that happening for sure.
Yeah. It's an environment where that it makes it easier.
Right. Here's another slide from IC3 on the victims by age group for the year 2020. And you can see there, the senior fraud is, their categories. If you're over 60, you fall in that senior fraud group. And there are the most cases there, 105,000 plus in 2020. and the losses there are just right at $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
part of that is vulnerability, but the other part is, the older people have saved more, so that's where the money is.
Well, that's
So-
exactly right. And that's what the FBI is saying, that
Mhm.
they like to target victims, folks over 60, because they're believed to have those significant financial resources. And generally, we boomers are basically trusting and polite people.
Yeah, it's true.
So we're easy targets there.
And you know what else, though, too, is that when you get older, there's things like you forget what's happening. So they take advantage of the possible onset of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever, or memory loss. And it's like, oh, geez, maybe I didn't do that. Or did I do this? So there's fear tactics that go into these fraudulent actions, and also to try gaslight you, I would suppose, in many ways, too.
Yeah. So in terms of being nice, Pat, tell us about the call you got about your grandson being.
Oh, I'm getting to that one. That's
Oh,
my
all right.
favorite.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll wait. Okay.
Okay.
Because that's a good story.
That's all right. I want to just hit on a couple other things. Victims over age 60. This report says that scams include advance fee scams, investment fraud scams, romance scams are apparently very big for single elderly. You're lonely. That makes sense. You could fall for somebody over the internet, and boom, the next thing you know, you've lost your life savings.
Yeah.
Well, one problem with that if they start asking you whether or not you have a lot of money, make sure you say no.
Yeah. That should help.
Yeah, no, I have none. I was looking to you for money.
Yeah.
But they also include government impersonation scams, which we've touched on, sweepstakes, charity or lottery scams, home repair scams, TV and radio scams, and family caregiver scams are also a big caution. The report goes on to say if the perpetrators are successful after an initial contact, they will often continue to victimize the victims. So some of these cases include people that have been conned several times.
Wow.
And it's really tough. Some of the calls I've received over the last few months, I've had you kind of touched on it, Kathy, the robotic sounding computer voice claiming to be from the IRS, instructing me to call agent so-and-so. Just to remember again, the IRS is not going to call you, and neither is their robot.
Yeah.
New to me is another computerized voice saying there's a problem with, in my case, they said there's a problem with the purchase of a new iPhone 11 with Amazon. There's something wrong with my credit card. Well, I didn't order a new iPhone.
Well, maybe you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can call them back.
Crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. They're guessing. They're just guessing.
Yeah. And
the car warranty one, I get that all the time.
Oh,
I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
How many, it's just crazy. I get 2 and 3 of those a day.
Yeah.
My favorite one, though, the grandparents scam, that's where they play on your emotions, and the caller says it's a grandchild and they're in trouble or sick or being detained, and they ask for money. And in my case, I answered my phone, and a young male voice said, "Hi, Grandpa." I said, "Hello." And he said, I'm in trouble. I've been arrested and I need bail money and I can't reach my dad. Can you help? And I said, you know what? I never liked you anyway. And I hung up.
That's great.
Because I knew where my grandchildren were.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a scam.
That's right.
So many people fall for that. Let's see here.
The help desk.
Oh, the help desk, yes. And the other thing I want on that grandparent scam, if you should receive a call like that, the FBI says, call the agency who is supposedly holding your grandchild and ask them if it's true. That's
Sure.
how you can verify that it's a scam.
Yeah, they'll never give you that number. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Probably for security reasons, we can't give out that number.
Yeah.
The other warning here is if you get a call that asks, can you hear me? Don't answer yes, because they may be recording. And if they have that yes on an audio recording, they could use that to prove that you authorize something.
I never heard that. That's
Yeah.
a new one. Really?
Wow. Yeah. So, you can't be too careful.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
The help desk we talked about where my wife had the problem. Oh, the other one, I was really happy to, I got a call saying I had won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes.
Yeah,
You're a winner. Please contact us. And I was just really excited because I could use several $1 million, but I didn't call them.
Okay, now we'll go into the crime types.
Yeah. So the crime types there you see are phishing, vishing, smishing, and farming up there as the top scams.
I didn't know there's so many different versions of phishing. That's interesting. Okay.
So, and then we've got the non-payment, non-delivery, extortion. And then you go through the other types of crimes, credit card frauds, tech support, government impersonations. And here we go through ransomware is just really scary now. We saw what happened to the pipeline here just a week or so ago.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Right.
So
they paid it. That's that's the scary thing, because they weren't able to get out of it. They don't know what really happened, which makes it scary from a government standpoint. Is their cybersecurity really that good? Not so.
Right. Sure. And if the big guys can get had, then we certainly can too.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and so here we go. Out there in California, Ron, you're the #1
yay for us
victims per state.
Yeah, yay.
Of course, you're the most populous too. So
that's why. Sense. Sure. Yeah.
But you can see the states that are really having the problems, and we're up here. We've got 3,500 victims in 2020.
In Kansas,
yeah, I'm in Kansas, but you go through here.
And look, I'm in New Mexico, so that's low, 3,400.
You're right up there, yeah. But still, 3,500 victims of elder fraud it's not good.
Yes, right.
So the last slide I have here, if you're,
well, I stuck this one.
Oh
in
yeah.
There. Just a summary of the biggest ones: phishing, people over 60, California. Just summarizing where the most frauds are occurring.
Right. And if you believe you may have been a victim or you know someone, call your local FBI field office. You can also submit a tip online. Just go to fbi.gov and submit a tip online. Or if you've got a complaint you want to file with the IC3, the Internet Crime Complaint Center, you can do that right online. So
that's great.
You can help be part of the solution.
So those are good to know if you've been had. We're going to, at the end of this, we're going to give a place to go to just try to protect yourself. And that's what I want to talk about just for a brief moment about scam prevention. So next slide, Kath. One of the things that is just so critical to allowing yourself to be taken advantage of is trust. So there's any number of ways that you just went through, Pat. We're going to talk about this thing of guardianship, which I really think is amazing, but I'll sort of introduce that idea a little bit. Some people on this call might have seen, there's a couple movies out now, but what's going on is these fraudsters end up getting guardianship over old people. So they have the power of attorney, and they come in and take over all your assets, have you institutionalized, and it's even going on as we speak. In one of the videos we watched, we're going to show a little trailer.
Do you want to show it now?
No, I wanted to wait for that. Just wanted to do this thing first. But the judges are involved. And it's really amazing that the documentaries could actually say, here's the judge who's appointing these people. He's complicit. And you go,
my goodness.
my goodness, how can that happen? And it's on video, so I don't know. You sort of believe it because you would think a judge would come after them and do something.
Well, you would think that Social Security would have some control in that. I remember at the nonprofit I was with, we had a representative payee program where we were paying the bills for clients that couldn't handle their own money.
Yeah, there are services for that. Yeah.
Yes, there are. And you're screened. Social Security has very stringent screenings for that because you're entrusted to pay the bills, to pay the.
That helps.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to defend yourself from this, but no, that is going on, and it's continuing to go on. But I want to share with you.
I was just going to add, sometimes they've found that some of the fraud there is by family members.
Yeah.
A lot of the times.
Sure.
If they know that somebody in their family has money, let's get the guardianship so that you can take it away from them and prove them insane or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. So I've been watching this show called Hustle. It's on the next slide, Kath. And if you wanted to have some fun, we're binging on this, and it really sucks you in. But every show follows the same format, and it begins. So these are fraudsters, and they're doing what they call a long con. And the long con takes time to build and everything else. By contrast, a short con, you can basically trick somebody in a short period of time. But it works in the beginning of the show. They have a specific guy. He's called the roper, and he finds a mark. Somebody who they're going to take advantage of. Then the grifters, they all do research. They all team in together to find something that they could, some vulnerability of this person that they could take advantage of. And then when they find that weakness, there's a guy called a fixer, and he sets the con up. And this is so clever. I mean, watching this thing is really fun. and he sets up the con and normally gets some other people who aren't part of the team, call it shills, and they get paid, part of the deal. And then the mark is drawn in with what they call a convincer. So they offer the mark some way to make quick money or whatever. And it's just a little bit at first. It's a convincer. So it might be a bet on a horse race, and the guy might bet $1,000, and the horse comes in just as predicted. So then they go, well, now you see how this works. It's really cool. Let's put some real money on it. And the team normally needs to put some of their own money in along with the convincer. So normally in these shows, they have a short con. They go out and make a little bit of money so they can go alongside of the market with this convincer. And then finally, the closer comes in and does the sting. And that's always clever at the end of the show where there's things going on behind the scenes that they don't show you. So just anyway, and the key thing at the end of it all, they have to disappear. If they're around somewhere after the mark figures out what's been done to them, the mark could come get them, so they have to disappear.
That reminds me of the movie The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they had to clear out everything so that wherever they did their sting, it had to be totally emptied out. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, that movie followed this script. So this is a TV show, and I'm only sharing this with our audience because this may not be going on with many people. I think that the short con is the things that go on, but just be aware of what's going on. There are people out there who do the long cons, and you may find this happening to you. Then the other thing I want to share before we get on to the rest is that Kathy found this video, and I just want to summarize it. It's on the next slide, Kath. And Pat, I think you've said these things, but So this is a fairly like a half-hour show, but at the end, so they may spend 10 minutes on each of these bullet points. But the advice is, number one, don't answer a call from a stranger. So I think most of our phones now have caller ID. I don't know about you, but if I don't recognize the caller, I don't answer it. If their call is serious, they'll leave a message. So I just let that happen. Or if I recognize it, anyway, so we don't answer. You mentioned this too, Pat, but especially for financial fraud, there is a website called Broker Check, and you can go on and put on that person's name, and you should find them if they really are a broker, and it'll tell you if there's been any misdoings on the part of that person. And you can also go to the district attorney's office, the county attorney. And the other thing I think we've talked about is when they ask you for some sort of verification by email, don't do that. And then finally, the advice at the very end was just seek help from the people you know and you trust.
Right.
And you may feel embarrassed to go to them and share this thing with them, but don't be at all, because there might be a good chance that something like that has happened to them.
Right.
Yeah. So this is then I think now, Catherine, let's show this clip from this movie where this is still going on, where people are being all their assets and everything are being confiscated basically by these conservators. I was trying to think of the word. So the court appoints a conservator for someone, and in the movie, they track this lady who owns her own house, and she wants to be alone. She's very capable of being alone, and they come in and they take her out against her will and put her in a home. And I guess they pay the bills for the home, but the implication is she was worth.
It was
much
scary,
more.
very, very scary. So here
and
we
this
go.
whole movie is about how this is going on all the time.
Retiring here, and you're an elderly, wealthy person. Think twice.
I spoke to my mom on Thursday, and she was fine. I called her on Friday, and there was nobody picking up. Somebody took my parents.
It's not supposed to happen in America.
I was fighting them back, and he was fighting me.
They grabbed me, and they kept telling me to love it there.
I asked them where I was. You're on the 6th floor in the psych ward.
People go in, corpses come out.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and appoint your guardian today.
A guardian is appointed through the courts to have authority over someone's life.
You turn over immediately your bank account, checking account, savings account.
They're using senior citizens as the key to the money.
We have nothing left. There are relationships between the doctors, the lawyers, the private guardian industry, and the court.
My aunt was victimized based on an incorrect diagnosis by an unqualified person.
They were trying to convince us nothing to see here. And that raises red flags for any investigative journalist.
You've got to keep the light shining on the people that are being taken.
I cannot do this. I cannot let these people get away with everything.
It needs a master investigation.
That was so. That movie, if for those of you that didn't see it, you have to watch it. I think it's what is it on Netflix? I think.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. The only thing about Googling on the word "The Guardians" is there's a bunch of other movies that have nothing to do with that fraud. So you sort of need to sift through and find the one that.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a scary movie.
One other thing I would add for viewers is probably in every community in the United States, you're going to find a senior services organization or a Department of Aging, either by the state or the county. And I have found those usually are just jam-packed with resources and information that can help you if you think you suspect fraud or something doesn't feel right, because what's that old saying? If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the other one was there's a sucker born every moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a circus guy. I can't remember
Barnum.
his name. Yeah. P.T. Barnum. There you go.
Yeah.
So John Lohr was going to do this part, but again, we had logistical problems. But I do want to just tell the people on this call about a website that John has, and encourage you to go visit it. It's really easy to remember. It's Other People's Money.
We're going to show it at the end of this. Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather go through John's slides, Kath, because I don't feel comfortable doing it. Let's
You'd
just
rather do that, go through.
Yeah,
his...
let's go to his website and show people that it's there.
Okay. There it is.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, somebody else's money. I'm glad we showed that.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the comments here, folks, so that you can look down below and you can click on it directly then.
But it's a great resource, and you scroll down on that page, Kath.
Okay.
Or up. Yeah, you got to scroll down.
Fraud of the year, 2019.
Yeah, those are always he's got a fraud for each year. I think he's also got fraud of the month. So that's actually what John was going to cover, was just some examples of frauds that he's documented. But if you keep scrolling, there's a whole bunch of stuff to click on to go into details about various things. So I just encourage people on this call to go visit John's website and take advantage of it. That he's been working hard to document these things. So it's but the Money Culture is John's financial education website.
Should I click on it?
I think it'll open. Yeah. But it's not about fraud. That's financial education.
Okay. Well, then we won't do it.
Yeah. That's not about the show.
Okay.
So jot that down. Somebody else's money. Visit there, and there's just a whole library of things to be aware of and to protect yourself.
Okay.
Great. Well, I'm through saying what I'm going to say. Pat, you have anything else to say?
No, I appreciate.
Fraud is bad.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you both, and hopefully we can help some folks avoid what could be a nasty, nasty situation and a long time to dig out from. I mean, some people lose everything.
Right.
Terrible. Just those people are institutionalized against their will I mean, that's terrible.
Well, what I want to say is that for those of you that if you have been victims of a scam, you're worried and you feel that the deception of protection, which is really what these scams are about, if you've been victim of it, you're not alone. Personally, if I was involved in one, I would want to seek out organizations, support groups of people that have been involved in it, because the only way that you're going to be able to stop it is by sharing the information that happened with you, just like Pat is doing. Pat took the initiative to go ahead and start up a website based on his own experiences. Same thing holds true. So reach out to Pat. Pat, how can people reach you?
Well, my email.
Do you want to be reached before
do you want to be reached?
Sure, you can put my email in the.
Okay, I'm going to put it down here. Okay.
Yeah. It's poppyod@gmail.com.
Poppy P-O.
Poppyod.
At Gmail. Okay.
On your point, Kathy, a lot of people, and the FBI says that so many times people that get scammed are embarrassed that they fell for it, and they hide it from their families, or they don't seek help, or they don't even report it because they are embarrassed. How could a businessman of my experience be scammed?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sure.
You are absolutely right on that. I put that in the same category of let's say you're involved in domestic violence. It's always, well, how could you have allowed that to happen? You should have stood up. You should have done this. Should have, could have, would have, until you're in it.
Yeah.
Until you're absolutely in it. Yeah, that's the same kind of thing. Yeah, how could I have fallen for that? I should have known better. But the truth is that deep down inside something's wrong, but you go ahead anyway.
Right.
So you knew, well, it just wasn't quite right, but it sounded pretty good, so I think I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. It's all about trust.
Yeah.
You're not trusting somebody you don't even know.
Right.
Well,
or if a family member does it, that's worse.
We can check back a year from now and see what 2021 did in
there you go.
IC3 report.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
So,
Well, that was a great show.
I want to let
Okay,
people know
Roger.
about the next show.
Yeah.
It's in 2 weeks, so we do this twice a month. And the next show, the Congress has asked the Government Accounting Office to do research and make recommendations on target date funds. Some of you on the call may know what those are, but let me tell you that they are by far the biggest deal in 401k plans. They're about $2.5 trillion. And we did a show early on in their first season about the next 401k scandal. And target date funds I won't go into too much detail other than now that Congress is concerned that they might not be safe enough for you, and I think a lot of people on this call might be in target date funds. The last time that question was asked was in 2009, following the 2008 serious losses. Target date funds lost about 30% in 2008. The next crash is probably going to be in this decade sometime. So we're going to cover this again, but this time, by the benefit of Congress, has asked 10 questions. Here we go over each of those questions and share our view. Congress is not asking us, but we thought you might like our view.
Yeah. Right.
So we're going to share that with you on the next show.
Okay, well, here we are at the end of the show. Another great show, Ron. Thanks so much for being on, Pat. And hopefully you're going to get a lot of people help that are going to get help with your support.
Good.
Ooh, that was a mouthful.
Very nice. Yeah, thanks for volunteering that. That's
you betcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye. See you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Yep.